This is The Goode Show. Welcome to the show, Jay Kopelman. Now, you have a very different perspective on trauma, on treatment, and what healing actually looks like. You're a retired Marine Lieutenant Colonel, and obviously you have been in combat, but you are also a twice cancer survivor. Yeah. I think that deserves a round of applause, Jay. I really do.
I think my doctors deserve the applause.
Well, listen, we know that you had something to do with it as well, okay? You suffered from the invisible wounds of service, right? The things that people just obviously can't see. And you chose a different type of treatment. Mm-hmm. You went to psychedelics to help you, but prior to going to psychedelics, I want to ask you, did you try, I don't know what you'd call it, normal medicine?
Yeah. So first of all, thanks for having me here today. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. And I hope I can at least try to follow those who came before me in somewhat of a decent fashion. But to answer the question, yes, I did try the quote unquote normal modalities of healing from, multiple traumatic brain injuries, severe complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I had a very bad anger issue. So I took the SSRIs. I went to talk therapy religiously for 2 years until my therapist said, there's really nothing more I can do for you, and we're done.
Wow.
And which kind of left a void for me. I actually kind of cried when she told me that, because I knew I needed help still. And that was a long time ago. That was probably 9-10 years ago. Prior to that, I was married, living in La Jolla. My son was born in January of 2007. But I was I was a dumpster fire, and I was pissed off all the time. It was funny listening to Angie say that the dishwasher could be loaded better, because that would piss me off. If the dishwasher wasn't loaded the way I thought it should be, I'd go off. Dishes would break. If a drawer wasn't closed all the way, like, why is a drawer left open a 1/4 inch? That would piss me off. Everything did. I wanted to punch all my neighbors in the face. I'm living in La Jolla, in a beautiful place, but seeing all these people with such a sense of entitlement, not understanding what our service members were going through. This was 2006, 2007. It was the height of the war. I had just retired in 2006 after 20 years, and I had been asked to extend my career. A 2-star general who stood up MARSOC asked me to go with him to North Carolina to stand up MARSOC. And I just realized, at least inwardly, I thought, what's going to happen with my career if I do that? I'm going to maybe get promoted one more time and be a staff guy. I didn't want to be a staff weenie. That wasn't what I was built for. And so I decided to retire. I had already met my then wife. We were surfing every morning and having a good time, and I just decided to call it quits, but without having any exit plan. I had nothing planned out. I was lucky because I had written my first book right before I retired, and I went to the commanding general at 1MEF with it, with the draft. I got it all cleared. The attorney looked at it. They said everything's fine, got it published. And just as I was retiring, it became a New York Times bestseller. And so I didn't have to work. But that didn't help either, because I still had no plan. I was just floundering. I was just kind of going whichever direction the wind or the tide would take me. But that went on for quite a while. I did work for a little bit. I went to grad school, got a good job at Johnson & Johnson.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
And I've just interrupted you, but you
Yeah.
had spoken about anger. Were you angry because of the service? Were you angry? Were you always angry?
Yes.
So even childhood, it was just...
Yeah, I just suppressed it for a
Okay.
long... I mean, like I was that kid on the playground who would see somebody getting picked on by a bully. And I mean, I'm not a big guy, right? But I didn't care. I just would tear into that bully. So I always knew there was a right and a wrong, but I always had this anger issue, and it stemmed from childhood, from child abuse, not ever speaking up, and not even facing it or understanding it, just suppressing it my entire life until I was in my 50s.
Wow.
And not, not confronting it, and really not even understanding the depths of it, how bad it really was, thinking it was just one thing. And then it wasn't even a year ago, I woke up screaming in the middle of the night. My fiance was, she was petrified, like, what's going on here? And it was the realization, like, in the middle of the night, of what had actually happened. And it's stuff that should never happen to any child. But I was always angry, and that stayed with me. So in probably 2020, during the pandemic, I was an executive at a healthcare company. Things were good, and I just decided one day, the CEO had scheduled, and I'm friends with the guys to this day. If I hadn't left the company, we wouldn't be friends. But I decided at that point, after he bailed 2 minutes before a big meeting, that I was done. And I had already written the resignation letter before that meeting, because I just had a feeling that was going to happen. And I guess I manifested it. And sure enough, he missed the meeting. I hit send on my computer and resigned on the spot with nothing going on.
No fun.
5 months later, 6 months later, packed everything up in my truck and moved up to southeast Idaho. My son at the time really didn't want to have anything to do with me, and I don't blame him for that. It was all on me. And while I was up in Idaho, a buddy of mine from the teams, who you probably all know, Jason Gardner. So Jay calls me up one day and he says, "Bro, you got to go do this. It's going to change your life." I go, "Go do what?" He's like, "There's this place in Mexico you can go down, do these psychedelics, and it's life changing, and you got to go do it." Okay, sure. I grew up in the '60s. Psychedelics was what hippies did. Right?
Yeah.
You're going to take LSD and fly out of a building. So there was no thought of ever touching this stuff. And so a year, 2 years went by. I was on a phone with another organization, giving them a recommendation for a friend of mine. And the gal I was talking to says to me, she goes, "So what's your story?" And I told her, and she said, "Yeah, I'm going to give you a scholarship to go do Ibogaine down in Mexico." I said, "Okay, thank you." So 6 months later, I end up down at a retreat in Mexico at a place called the Mission Within. And there were 3 of us there on scholarship and 3 guys who didn't have scholarships. So 2 of the guys were Teams guys they were the other scholarship recipients. One was a DevGru guy who is now working as an advocate, working in Nevada to get psychedelics legalized there. And so it seemed really odd to me that 3 guys couldn't get scholarships, because the way this worked is you had to have special forces experience to get the scholarship. So I had served a couple of tours with Anglico in the Marine Corps, so Air Naval Gunfire Liaison Company. And, we jumped out of airplanes, did all the fun stuff. I served with Task Force 626 in Iraq, so the Delta Command there. So I got a scholarship. And when I finished the retreat, it was so profound for me. Like the experience of ibogaine and then having the grade A after that, and then doing 5-MeO the next day and coming back. And I told the guy who runs this clinic, the doctor, I told Martine, I said, yeah, I know about your foundation that you started. I'll help you raise some money. So I was having dinner with friends a few weeks later who have a home in La Jolla, Phoenix, and Jackson Hole. And, he attributes all his success in life to his time in the Marine Corps after college, not to Harvard Business School. It's all attributed to the Marine Corps. So through their family office, they donate to Marines, animal rescue, and their church. And I told him all about it. I showed him a little video. And we went to dinner, and after dinner, they said, we're going to give this some serious consideration. And what I had talked to them about was making a scholarship for non-MARSOC Marines to go through this so that guys who weren't special ops could have access to this the same way operators did. So 9 days later, day after their family office board meeting, I get an email. And they said, we think this is very important, and we want to begin by committing $1 million. Nice. So all of a sudden, I find myself as president of a board of directors, and which wasn't really doing anything at all. And then 6 months later, they said, why don't you just become interim executive director? I did that. And then a year ago, it'll be a year in December, the board promoted me to CEO of Mission to Live Foundation. And it's our mission now to provide scholarships to all veterans and first responders to access these life-changing and, in many cases, life-saving medicines. I mean, I was drinking a lot, like 4 or 5 bourbons a night, and in the summer, equal amounts of tequila. I would smoke weed before bed just to help me sleep, just to try to quiet my mind, relieve some of the pain, both physical and emotional.
Did this become an addiction for you, the drink?
Well, I think the drinking was probably more than it would be healthy. I was trying to maintain a healthy lifestyle through it. I would drink 4 or 5 bourbons and have a cigar every night. But still maintaining training jiu-jitsu 5 days a week.
While I'm thinking about what you're saying now, what Taylor has said, Prime has said, and I think like the commonality here is it's like whether it's drink or drugs, whatever the substance is, you're doing it, but you're still functioning, and you're functioning well. And while you're functioning well, do you think, okay, well, I can still, I'm good. I can still do my job, so it really doesn't affect me that much.
Well, you think that through all phases of your life. Like when I was constantly pissed off wanting to punch my entitled neighbors in the face.
Did you actually punch him?
No.
Okay. Oh.
I thought they were. I thought they were all fucked up, and I was fine.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Is you think everyone around you is wrong, and you're right, and it's the complete 180 of that. You're not right. You're fucked up. And I was fucked up. And I went through this, and it was just incredible to me that something from earth, from nature, could have such a healing power and it's not just you don't see it in yourself right away, you see it in the guys who are at the retreat with you. And it's just incredible. I mean, there are guys who have horrific stories. They're so close to being homeless and, opiate dependent and opioids. And these medicines, like, I haven't had a drink in 2.5 years.
Wow.
I have no desire to touch any alcohol, any drugs, none of it.
This is all because of the ibogaine. How long was the treatment process for the ibogaine?
Yeah, so the ibogaine for me that first time, I've done it twice. Ibogaine lasts about 12 hours. Some people, I've seen my second retreat, we had a guy go through with us and he was still like feeling the ibogaine and the effects of it for like 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's not something to be played with. We're not talking,
Yeah.
Somebody's going to have a rave and start handing out Ibogaine because everybody be on the floor. And some people would die. These are very, very powerful medicines that are, should be taken only under supervision with medical safety protocols in place, but also you have to honor the medicine and where it comes from.
Yeah.
And there's ceremony around that as well. Now, it's not the full Bwiti ceremony, and these Ibogaine specifically comes from Equatorial Africa. And so we want to pay honor to the people who grow it and protect it and make it available to everybody. One day, hopefully it will become available to the masses because people are suffering. There's a lot of trauma out there.
What do you say to veteran families who have heard of Ibogaine? And sometimes I think people think it's a magic thing. And as to your point, there has to be supervision, there has to be medical supervision. What information should a veteran and a family know about this treatment before they even consider it an option?
Yeah, that's a great question. People do see these medicines sometimes as a panacea, like it's a silver bullet that's going to fix everything. But that's not the case. There's a lot of work. The medicine it provides you a portal, but you have to walk through. And if you don't do the work on the back end, do the breath work, the meditation, the integration. The integration is probably the most important part of it. And you've got to have a safe and stable environment to go home to. Like, we get applications and it's like, this guy's about to be homeless. I can't, in good conscience, send him to do Ibogaine until he's in a more stable situation. And so there are considerations. What we're doing, I think we're the only ones providing these scholarships to all veterans and first responders to access these medicines, to access Ibogaine and 5-MeO-DMT. And what I'm planning for Q4 this year or early Q1 is to start a spouse program.
Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah.
So the Ibogaine is great for traumatic brain injuries because it has two really amazing properties. One is neuroregeneration. So it can actually regrow white matter in the brain and begin to heal the brain. So for guys who've had TBIs, especially, it's very helpful. It also has neuroplasticity properties that rewire the synapses in your brain. And it allows you to look at everything through a different lens.
Were you surprised when you looked at stuff through that different lens and you were like, wow, obviously you had no idea because you weren't in that mindset. But when you look back and you think, I saw it, so how could I not have seen that? How could I not have understood that,
You do, but you can't reflect on that too long, right? You have to say, okay, I have this new opportunity, this new lease on life, and this is what I'm going to do with it. And it just changes everything. Like, we've all sat in Southern California traffic and people are honking and they're driving like dickheads. But, you don't know that person who just flipped you off, like their father may have just died that day.
Yeah.
Right. These are the things I never thought of before. I just thought of, okay, let's go. Get out of your car. Come on. Let's do it. But now it's like, okay, I hope you have a really blessed day the rest of the day. I hope you're okay. And, I'll pray for you and your family and whatever's causing you that pain. And so you learn to look at things through a completely different lens. I came back from this and my son was going with his mom to Costa Rica the day I got back, which was good because it gave me a couple of weeks to integrate, to just kind of be by myself and reflect on things, what I had gone through, do my integration coaching. I was given 10 one-on-one guided meditation coaching sessions through the Wisdom Dojo. And it was great. And so my son came back and he came over for dinner, and I said, "Do you want to hear about this now?" And he was really interested about it. He's pretty funny because when I got back, I texted him. I said, "I think you're really going to like the new me." Mm-hmm. And he texted right back. He said, "You didn't turn into a woman, did you?" and so we sat down. I told him all about it, and I said to him, "I'm really sorry." And he said, "No, it's okay." I said, No. I said, I was a horrible husband to your mom, and I've been a shit dad to you, and I'm really sorry. I wish I'd have had this 20 years ago." And he says, "Nah, then I'd have just been raised like a sissy." and I had to tell him, "No, that's not the case." Yeah. I said, "I'm still me."
Yeah.
I said, "If you're in trouble, I'm still just as capable of extreme violence as I always have been. But I know that that's not how I have to be.
Yes.
That there are better ways to live your life."
Yeah.
And he's experienced it, like doing stupid stuff, and just I'm like, "Okay, that's fine. Yeah. We got this."
Yeah.
And I would look at him, and I could see he's sitting there just like all tensed up, and I said, "You're waiting for the other shoe to drop, aren't you?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah." I said, "It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
We're good."
Yeah.
And we want to do this spouse program because I know that the spouses suffer. I know my ex-wife suffered tremendously. She came in the garage one day, found me sitting against the refrigerator with a gun in my mouth. And, spouses suffer a lot of trauma from us. And so we want to be able to send the spouses to psilocybin retreats so that they can work through their trauma as well.
I think that is remarkable because, again, I think sometimes the backbone to the backbone is forgotten about to some extent, that we will just deal with it, Yeah. I want to talk to you about your book.
Yeah.
Okay? Because before we run out of time, I definitely want to... it's such a cute picture as well on the front.
Yeah.
This is a dog that you adopted in Baghdad?
Well, actually adopted him from Fallujah. He was found during a firefight. He was hiding in a turned over 55-gallon drum. And
wow.
A Marine crawled in there and grabbed him.
Now, tell us a little bit, what prompted you to write the book?
I was kind of like Amy. I mean, I had never written a book, obviously. I just had people hounding me to write a book. And so finally, just to get people to leave me alone, I figured, okay, I'll write the book. Where's my box of crayons? And so, I wrote the book, found somebody who had written a book because I didn't know anything about it, got a co-author. She was living in St. Louis or something, and I contacted her. I found a book on Amazon she had written and found her publisher and her publicity people. They put her in touch with me, and we started working on this thing and got an agent, and the book just sold really
it was a New York bestseller.
Yeah.
Now, where can people get the book?
They can on Amazon. I mean, this book was written in 2006. I think it was
still want to
published
read it today. Don't put them off.
2007. No, but yeah. So it's really the story of finding the dog, a lot of stuff that happened in Fallujah, the journey of getting him back here, and so.
Oh, how cute! Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Senator, and thanks for what you're doing.
Thank you for being so vulnerable and for being so honest.
Yeah,
there's a big conversation.
People need to know.
They do. Thanks for tuning in to The Goode Show. If you loved what you heard, follow me on Instagram @The Goode Show.